So I dropped my Game Boy Advance SP a while ago and cracked the shell. The good news is that it still works as it should, but the bad news is that it's at constant risk of breaking the screen ribbon every time I open it. This is not the way one should play GBA, especially since this is the AGS 101 model with its backlit screen. I would hate to have to spend more money on a replacement system when the internals in this still work fine. So today, I'm gonna be transferring everything over to a new shell. I got my tools with me, and I never did this before, but let's see how this goes. Oh, and for some added spice, I'm also wearing my GoPro while doing this. It's like I'm holding on a baby carrier. So I began by unscrewing the screws on the bottom. The screw on the battery compartment gave me some issues, but it came off. I removed the battery and then unscrewed the screws inside the battery compartment and on the outer edges. Let me just get this out of the way. The screws on this thing were really annoying. There were Y-shaped screws, and those star-shaped screws, and dude, it got on my nerves. I got confused about what screws went where, and having to switch screwdrivers constantly didn't help. But I took it apart, and it seemed like so far so good. Nothing I couldn't handle. The rubber spots that are on the screen got on my nerves. I didn't want to break them like how I did as you can see in the footage, but I just couldn't get them off without obliterating them. But since the shell is already busted, it's whatever. But I got it apart, and I was feeling pretty good. So I started moving everything into the new shell, and the first thing I misunderstood was how to reattach the screen ribbon. There are two little latches on the motherboard that hold the ribbon cable in place. I thought to just push it back in, and I went to go get a pair of tweezers from the bathroom, and I tried, and it wasn't working, and I was getting mad. I then found out you take those latches, push them out, then put the ribbon in, and then push back the latches until firmly attached. When I saw how simple it was, I was peeved. I got everything together, but I realized I made a few mistakes. One, I left out the cover for the ribbon, and I wondered why it wouldn't stay in place and why there was an extra screw left. When I thought I was done and was playing Mario and Luigi, the screen wouldn't stay in place like it's supposed to. So what did I do? Took the thing apart, over, and over. The video tutorial I was following said that you have to push the hinges in, black on the left and white on the right, all the way, but I just couldn't do it and it was very confusing. I did get the last screw in to get the cover to stay to cover the ribbon, but I just couldn't figure out how to put those freaking hinges in. I considered getting a hammer, but the logical side of my brain told me that would be a bad idea. The video said to push with some extra force, but a hammer would be going too far. I spent a lot of time taking this thing apart and putting it back together until I found out what the issue was regarding the hinges. I saw another video about how to put it together, and the person said you have to move the screen a bit to let the hinges get into place, and I moved the screen around and then finally the hinges snapped into place like they're supposed to. So finally, after all that trouble, it was almost done. So I put it all together again, and I didn't remember what screws went where, but at that point I didn't care as long as it was kept together and it worked. And it did! I tried out Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mario and Luigi again, and everything worked fine. The screen looked great, all the buttons worked, it was sublime. Looking back at this process, the actual disassembling and reassembling weren't the issue. But it was my patience during the whole ordeal. More than once I felt like giving up and being like, it's put together, it works, that's good enough. But I knew deep down I wouldn't really be happy knowing it wasn't finished properly. So I kept at it, and now my GBA has new life again in a much cooler purple Mario shell. And moving forward, whenever I play, I'll never forget how much I fought with those hinges. Thank you for watching, I'm Wayne Landreth, and I'll see you next time. I did get the last screw in to cover... Shut up. I did get the last screw...